Intro music fading out. Okay, so here's a wild idea. What if the President of the United States suddenly decided to completely overhaul childhood vaccines because of autism? And what if he did this while openly admitting he has zero scientific evidence to back it up? Sound like conspiracy theory territory? Well, buckle up, because that's exactly what happened this week when President Trump signed an executive order that could change how every American kid gets vaccinated. And honestly, this isn't just about vaccines anymore. It's about who we trust to make life or death decisions for our kids. Let's unpack this. The order does three major things. Splits vaccines into high-risk tiers, splits the MMR shot into 3 separate injections spaced out over time, and claims all of this is somehow related to reducing autism rates. Wait, but didn't we already settle the vaccine autism myth decades ago? Like, the original study was retracted in 1998. It was a literal fraud. But here we are in 2026, and the president is sitting in the Oval Office saying autism rates are an epidemic caused by too many vaccines. One thing that immediately stands out to me is how this isn't even the first time we've heard this argument. It's like watching a conspiracy theory get fast-tracked into federal policy. But here's the part that keeps me up at night. When Trump says we're reducing them by 20%, or talks about spacing out shots, he makes it sound like a win. But what he's actually doing is ignoring decades of medical research about how immunization schedules work. Doctors don't just randomly pile vaccines together. They're timed to protect kids when they're most vulnerable. Take hepatitis B, for example. They give that shot at birth specifically because babies exposed to even asymptomatic carriers can develop chronic infections that destroy their livers. If you delay that shot because you're splitting vaccines, you're creating a window where a baby could get infected. And let's be real. When politicians start simplifying science, it usually means making things more dangerous, not safer. Now, what's fascinating and terrifying is how this order weaponizes the very real fear parents feel about autism. Autism diagnoses have increased over the past 30 years? Absolutely. But correlation isn't causation. The rise in diagnoses is largely due to better awareness and broader diagnostic criteria. Genetics play a role. Environmental factors matter. But vaccines? Study after study has debunked this. The 2019 Danish study with 650,000 kids found vaccinated kids actually had slightly lower autism rates. And the 2015 study looking specifically at siblings with autism? Zero link. So why is the president pushing this? From my perspective, this feels less about science and more about playing to a base that distrusts experts. And let's talk about the political theater here. You've got Trump name-dropping Robert F. Kennedy Jr., a man who's built his entire career on vaccine misinformation, then acting like he's some neutral truth seeker. Meanwhile, the AAP, the actual doctors, call this order dangerous and disheartening. A sitting senator who's a doctor calls it so wrong. And Japan's experience when they split the MMR shot? Mumps rates plummeted, leading to hundreds of kids losing hearing. But none of this seems to matter when ideology takes over science. What this really suggests is a disturbing trend where politicians cherry-pick experts who support their agenda, no matter how fringe those voices are. So where does this leave us? Measles cases are already spiking to 35-year highs. Delaying vaccines could make that worse. States set their own immunization rules, but federal guidance shapes those policies. If this order creates confusion, it might push more parents toward vaccine hesitancy, not because of real risks but because of manufactured fear. This raises a deeper question. When did we decide that personal health decisions should be dictated by presidential whim? At some point, we have to ask if this is really about protecting kids, or if it's about proving that experts can be wrong even when the stakes are life and death. Outro music fades in. Honestly, this feels like watching history repeat itself but with higher production value. If you take a step back, the pattern is clear. Distrust science, elevate controversy, ignore experts. And the saddest part? The autism community gets caught in the middle. Real research into autism causes and support gets drowned out by these baseless claims. So here's my challenge to you. Next time someone says vaccines caused autism, ask them for the evidence. Ask them why every major medical institution disagrees. Because sometimes the most dangerous ideas aren't the ones that sound crazy. They're the ones that sound convincing enough to change national policy. Let me know your thoughts in the comments.